back in probably September, October, so it's a very long process in the making. This project has a very big place in my heart just because I feel so strongly about the subject itself, and I feel it's important to know how to protect yourself and stay safe as a girl on a college campus. With help from a bunch of guest speakers here today, I hope everyone learns at least one thing that they'll be able to use either now or in 10 years, whenever. Our first speaker will be Mr. Zane Taylor, our resource officer, who will be speaking on some general safety tips and rules. He's been in the law enforcement for 10 years, and his official title is Investigator Taylor. I did some research of my own and even emailed many colleges within the state and neighboring states, asking what their main safety issues are, and I collected their feedback, was able to gain some general information, and which he was able to take and make an amazing presentation of it. So he'll be our first speaker. After that will be Shakira Petgrave. She has a passion for raising awareness for domestic violence and teen dating violence prevention. Currently she serves as the community advocate for Promise Place, a domestic violence organization. In this role, she discusses the importance of healthy relationship education to 6th through 9th graders across Fayette, Spalding, and Upson County. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in forensic psychology with a specialization in family violence. While in college, she realized that a lot of her peers suffered from unhealthy relationships and dating abuse, and this inspired her to join these organizations where she could empower women who may have experienced relationship abuse and receive empowerment as well. The experiences she took away from this motivated her to continue work post-graduation and find an avenue that would aid her in promoting domestic violence awareness. Today she comes to provide the knowledge and resources of teen dating violence and how to prevent it. Lastly will be Mr. Pete Snider. He's here today from PTC Combat Fitness and will be demonstrating some helpful and simple self-defense techniques we could use on a college campus. He's the founder and head instructor of this organization, and he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's also retired from the MMA, and he continues to train advanced striking and ground game with fighters interested in the MMA, and also offers personal training services. I am so excited to be here with you guys today, and I really hope everyone has a good time, learn something new. Feel free to ask questions at the end of each speaker's presentations or in breaks, which we will have a break about halfway through, which will include refreshments and the chance to ask any questions individually. There will also be a super short survey at the very end that everyone will be able to answer. And I'll definitely say it again, but thank you so much for being here. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Hope you learned something.
Good afternoon. When Kylie asked me to be a part of this project, I was honored to do so. Then she explained to me what the project was about, and I quickly became very impressed. Not many high school-age young adults have the forethought to even consider that bad things could happen. Most people think, oh, it'll never happen to me. I'll never be the victim of a crime. I go to a good school, I live in a good community. What bad things can really happen? And that's what makes this project and Kylie's idea so impressive. There is a definite need for these types of conversations, especially with high school graduates who are about to embark to college and whatever other adventure they may be embarking on. This project is so important, and there are a lot of things that these young adults need to consider. Most sexual assaults happen with people that you already know. The Department of Justice reported that 8 out of 10 adult rapes and sexual assaults knew their attacker prior to the assault. That's 80%. That's no coincidence. People naturally don't venture far from their circle of family and friends, and it's usually always somebody that you trust the most. It's estimated that a sexual assault occurs in America about once every minute and a half. That's a lot. As girls and even guys leave home for the first time to go off to college or the military or to other places, they are exposed to new friends and new opportunities, and some risk comes with this as well. So what are some things that men and women can do to protect themselves? Well, first is never let your guard down. If you've never been the victim of a crime, you think, oh, it can't happen to me. So most people don't even consider it or give it a second thought. Always remember, if you're alone, always have a plan of where it is exactly that you're going. Never stand around by yourself. Always be aware of your surroundings as much as possible. Again, this is possible if you know where you're going. Never walk alone, especially at night. But if you have to walk alone, make sure you walk in well-lit areas when possible. Walk with confidence. This can deter many crimes and not just sexual crimes. Criminals are looking for targets so they can commit their crimes and move away quickly. The more time a criminal has to spend in one spot, the more likely it is that they get caught. You never want to be an easy target. Be extra vigilant with nighttime safety. Crimes are not necessarily occurred more at night, but it does add the added element of surprise. Travel in groups when possible. Once again, criminals are looking for easy targets. A group of people is not necessarily an easy target, and it will deter most crimes. Using a phone without and about can sometimes create the risk of potential attacks and also traffic accidents, but sometimes it also can help. Never be afraid to call a friend if you're out walking alone. It's okay and sometimes a good idea to make a phone call when you're out walking. This may also deter a lot of unwanted approaches as well. Our phone habits can lessen our awareness, especially in crowded places. Searching the internet or being on social media, this can be very distracting when you're alone. Always be aware of what's going on around you. You can make time for social media when you get home. Being aware of your surroundings is far more important. A lot of sexual assaults can and do occur at parties and in social settings. Remember, no strictly means no. When you say it, mean it. If you see something, say something. Don't be afraid to report it. Over 2/3 of all sexual assaults go unreported. Save emergency contacts when you get them. Be aware of sharing too much information on social media. Be skeptical of new friends requests. Do not share anything personal about you or your finances. A great rule of thumb that I've always used is if you've never met them in person, don't accept a friend's request. A lot of young adults are more worried about follows or likes on social media. Don't sacrifice your safety for a follow. Ask for help if you need help. It's always okay to ask for help. A few more things to consider as you venture out on your own, and especially to college, is parking and driving safety. Always be aware when you're driving on campus. Look out for other safety and those who may not be paying as much attention as you are. Parking in places with cars is far more safe than parking away from society. Numbers and groups are important, like we talked about earlier. There's safety in numbers. You never want to be an easy target. Make sure you don't leave any valuables in your car, especially if they can be seen through your window. Never leave valuables inside your vehicle in plain view. This may create a crime of opportunity for a criminal. If someone's walking past your car and they see a laptop or a purse inside your vehicle, this may become an easy theft for them. Which brings us into our next topic, is property theft. You always want to avoid leaving valuables unattended in public places. Not only do you run the risk of having your items lost or stolen, but you also run the risk of having your identity compromised, or maybe even your finances as well. Make sure you take them everywhere you travel, even if you're going to the restroom. Like I said, you never want to leave them laying around. Lastly, get involved in a gym, exercise, take some self-defense classes. Enjoy your life in college or whatever adventure you're embarking on, but always be safe and prepared. Now, none of this is meant to scare you, but it is something that everyone, not just young adults, needs to consider. People that think outside of the box are a lot less likely to be the victim of a crime. Once again, I really appreciate Kylie and all her hard work that she's done on this project. This is something that all college people should be considering and aware of. Don't be a victim, be prepared. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to speak, and I will open up for any questions if anybody's got any.
So when you're talking about making sure your property is not able to be seen from outside your car or leaving it alone, what are some ways that you can make sure you always have your stuff on you?
Well, if you can take it with you, I would advise always to take it with you, but if for some reason, if you're out and about, you can't take it with you, I would advise just to hide it. A lot of cars and trucks have the pockets in the back seat. If it'll fit, put it in there, because a lot of times whenever I was on the road especially, you would see whenever there was breaking in earrings and things like that, people would go by and they would just look in the windows. If they saw something, they would try to get into the car and get it. If not, then they would just move on. Like I said earlier, they don't want to stay in one spot for too long because it runs the risk of them getting caught. So just make sure you keep it out of view.
If you're going to carry like a small, not but a pepper spray or taser, what would be the best thing to carry?
I would say whatever's best for you, whatever you feel the most confident in, if you have to use it, is what I'll say. Is if you feel confident in the spray, take the spray. But just remember, if you take spray in your purse, make sure you keep it somewhere where it's not going to go off inside your purse. Thank you.
My name is Shakira Petgrave. I'm with Promise Place, and today I'm going to talk to you all about self-defense as far as learning about healthy relationship education and teen dating violence. So, Promise Place, who we are a domestic violence organization in Fayette County, as well as satellite offices in Spalding, Pike, and Upton counties. The services that we offer are emergency shelter, 24-hour crisis line, crisis counseling, legal assistance, emergency needs assistance, weekly support groups, community education, and safety planning. And we offer services to clients who are men, women, and children who experience domestic violence. So, the objectives for today. First, we're going to define teen dating violence, review characteristics of a healthy versus unhealthy relationship, discuss how to talk to your friends about teen dating violence, discuss ways in which you can put an end to teen dating violence, identify support services in the community, and then discuss ways in which you all can prevent this. So in looking at healthy relationships, we like to look at what healthy ones look like, what abusive ones look like, and then what you can do if you find yourself in this situation. So let's make this personal. In the state of Georgia, we are ranked in the top 25 states in the nation for the rate of which women are being killed by men for several years. In the past years, 52% of Georgia fatality victims were between the ages of 16 and 24 when they began relationships with the partners who killed them. So let's define teen dating violence before we get into things. So teen dating violence is defined as a pattern of abusive, aggressive, and controlling behavior in a romantic relationship. This could be from 13 to 19 and even go until 24 years old. These are behaviors that physically harm, arouse fear, and prevent a partner from doing what they wish or have them behaving in ways that they do not want to. So in looking at colleges, 21% of college students report having experienced dating violence by a current partner, and 32% of these students report experiencing dating violence by a previous partner. These numbers aren't completely accurate because sometimes we may not know what it looks like, or we may be afraid to report it. So just make sure that you're aware of this. So things such as peer pressure, the presence of drugs and alcohol, stressful schedules, tight-knit friend groups, and social media contribute to the higher rates of abuse, sexual assault, and stalking for students. So in looking at healthy relationships, sometimes we may not know what exactly to look for. So with me, I'm a feelings person. I want to feel safe all the time, respected all the time, good about myself, cared about, free to be myself, and free to hang out with other people. And looking at the characteristics, your partner should treat you with respect and dignity and like an equal. The communication is honest and open. They listen and they try to understand you, ask for your input and value your opinions, and they trust you. So let's look at the unhealthy relationships. If you feel any of these in your relationship, it's time to reevaluate it. That's my biggest thing. If you feel alone, anxious, worried, afraid, stressed out, frightened, nervous, confused, or hard to trust people, these are all warning signs of unhealthy relationships, how you feel. So let's get deeper into it. Sometimes we may not know the warning signs because, let's go with extremely jealous or insecure. We may say, oh, he doesn't want me hanging around anybody else because he loves me. Oh, he doesn't want me to hang around this person, and he only wants me to himself. Sometimes that could be seen as extremely jealous or insecure. Constantly putting you down, calling you names, checking your phone without permission, having an explosive temper, cheating on you, making threats and screaming at you, preventing you from doing what you want, isolating, starting rumors, having severe mood swings, throwing objects, telling you what to do, and physically hurting you in any way. Alright, so what can you do if you find yourself in an abusive relationship? So tell someone. We feel like this is the most important part because sometimes we may say, oh, well, I think it's abuse, or I may not think it's abuse, I don't know. The best thing to do is talk it out. Somebody may say, well, hey, all the things that you're saying is describing abuse. Don't stay silent. You don't want to get silent until the point where things do get worse and no one knows what's going on. Tell someone you trust. This is a big one for us because there are people who are safe to tell and who are not safe to tell. And looking at people who are safe to tell, we look at things such as your parents. And looking at people who are not safe to tell, this could be people who judge you for staying. I don't know why you didn't leave a long time ago. People who blame you. What did you do to entice them? Or people who don't believe you. So the major thing that we like to take away from this is having a safety plan. This involves knowing what to do if you ever find yourself in a dangerous situation. Where can you go for help? This could be a friend, family member, Anybody of that nature. Who can you call? Promise Place is a great resource. Who can and will help you? How you escape the situation if it becomes violent. I like to tell people all the time, if I ever feel like I'm in a compromising situation, 9 times out of 10 I have my phone on me. I'm by the nearest exit. I'm making sure that I'm getting safe. What can you do to make yourself safer? Sometimes it involves de-escalating the situation to make sure that you are having the safest interest of yourself and getting out there safely. Alright, so what if your friend is being abused? What can you do if your friend was being abused in the audience? Talk to them? Okay, do you know what to say? This is the main thing that we like to point out when you're talking to your friends. Be supportive, but not judgmental. We may say, oh, well, you're still there with them and we told you to leave. Sometimes it's not always easy to leave, so we got to make sure that we're there for them. Don't push advice onto your friend. It may seem easy at the beginning to say, oh, well, this is going on, but we never know what's going on in the inside of a relationship. We want to make sure that we're just not pushing advice. Encourage your friend to be open with you. That's a big one because we want to make sure that if anything does happen, we're aware of what's going on. Be gentle with your friend. Getting frustrated with them for not leaving will only make them feel worse. I tell people all the time, in abusive relationships, although you may seem like it's necessary, tough love is not always the best love. Make sure you're being gentle. And then lastly, express concern but not judgment, anger, frustration, or they won't tell you the next time and they will become more isolated. So here's some tips to keep in mind when you are trying to help. First, it's the major one. Accept what you're being told. If your friend is saying something, don't doubt them. It does take a lot for somebody to actually admit that abuse is going on, so make sure that you're accepting it. Listen and give support. Show concern. Talk about the behaviors, not the person. And we say this because sometimes we may feel like, oh, I'm so in love. And they would never do that because they love me. We want to make sure that we're looking at the actual abuse. And lastly, avoid ultimatums. You don't want to give them the chance to say, oh, well, it's either me or him. Because who knows? You don't want to cut them off just because you feel like you got to give them an ultimatum. So, decide on the next steps together. Ultimately, the decision about the next steps will need to come from them. But you can still play a role in helping them identify safe options. Help them find additional support like a counselor or a Promise Place advocate. Alright. So we're going to do a call to action. So, my biggest thing is sometimes we may not know what to say, and that's why we don't say the conversation or don't have the conversation. These are 5 things that we can say. So, I'll say it first, and you can repeat it after me. Alright, number 1, I'm concerned for your safety.
I'm concerned for your safety.
Okay, I'm concerned it'll only get worse.
I'm concerned it'll only get worse.
You're not alone. I'm here for you.
You're not alone. I'm here for you.
You don't deserve to be treated this way. No one does.
You don't deserve to be treated this way. No one does.
And last but not least, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
I need that one strong. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
We want to make sure that we know each of these things. My major thing is saying is, I am concerned it'll only get worse. It tells the person that this could get worse. We want to make sure that you are getting safe. You don't deserve to be treated this way. No one does. Sometimes victims may feel like, oh, well, it's my fault. If I didn't do this, they wouldn't abuse me. No one deserves to be treated this way. And lastly, like I said, it is not your fault. It is never the victim's fault for experiencing abuse. So, if you feel like you cannot tell an adult because sometimes it may be scary to bring that topic up, 1, educate your friend on teen dating violence. The fact that you all are here today just shows that you're interested in helping your friends out. Give your friend the resources. These are books, websites, hotline phone numbers. I know I'm not a book person, but we're on social media. Also, call the Promise Place crisis line, 770-460-1604. So there is help. Although I did mention that we service Fayette, Spalding, Pike, and Upton, we do have the resources for the other counties to help you out. And also, this number will be etched in your brain. Promise Place Crisis Hotline. This is 770-460-1604. I passed out index cards. If you wrote on it already, it's fine. I'm big on having a call to action and having something to do once you finish. So on those cards, it could be now, it could be later on. write down what you think a healthy relationship is, and then write down your non-negotiables, what you're not tolerating in a relationship. Because sometimes if we don't know what we want, we may end up in abusive relationships. And then here's some resources for you all that you can look for. Love is Respect is great for you all, and it's for teens, and all these other resources. I'm pretty sure Kylie has it as well. And that's the end of my presentation. Now you can clap. All right, well, while Kylie is coming, can somebody just name one healthy relationship characteristic? What are you looking for? Striped shirt.
Kind to you.
Kind, I love it. Caring.
Respecting each other.
All right, respecting each other. Somebody had their hand up.
Supports each other.
Supporting each other.
Makes me feel safe.
Make you feel safe.
Honesty.
Honesty.
Trust.
Trust.
Won't belittle you.
Won't believe. I love it. I love it. That's my main one. So, I have this thing on my phone because anytime I find anything regarding relationships, I'm just going to save it because that's me. So, quick question. Why do you think people ignore red flags?
They don't think it's anything. They love them. They don't want to get involved. Denial.
Denial? Okay. I heard a lot of good questions, or good answers. So, I'm going to give you 5 reasons. We can be overly attached to the potential we see in a person or the relationship. We might doubt our judgment or intuition and figure we must be mistaken. We may be in denial of reality and not want to admit we are wrong about someone. We might minimize our emotions because we don't think we deserve any better. And lastly, we may rush relationships and not have enough time to notice the red flags. So the one thing I will leave with you all today is notice the red flags, know what you want in a healthy relationship, and just overall be safe. Thank you.
Do you think it's abuse? Is it most likely abuse? Like, do you think, like, is this kind of abusive? Like, is it more than likely, like, an abusive relationship?
I would say if you ever have that question to think it is, 9 times out of 10 it is. Because that action or behavior is questionable to you, and you don't think it's normal, you don't like it, it's not common. So like I said, 9 times out of 10 it is abuse. But the main thing that I just like to tell people is to know the signs.
Yeah. Well, you can get out of relationships that are abusive.
Say it.
You don't have to stay in a relationship that's not good, even if it's not abusive.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing too, sometimes we look for, and sometimes people think, oh well, if they're not hitting me, it's not abusive. There's verbal abuse, cyber abuse, financial, cyber, all these. I'm trying to name it off my head. But just make sure if your partner is doing anything that you don't want, they're actually behaving with that you don't want to, or you're just feeling really harmed or fearful, or you're just not really feeling it, it's okay to leave. Never feel like you're at fault for leaving something where you don't feel safe.
So even though dating violence is common, it can still happen when you're an adult. So how would you get help to someone who's an adult, who's not like a peer, who's in an unhealthy relationship? Like how would you help them?
So your friends? So you're asking how would you help as an adult for your friends?
Like if you knew there was someone in your life who wasn't like your peer, how could you encourage them to
I think
get
she's
help?
saying as a teen, helping in a, right?
Yeah.
As a teen, if you knew an adult who was in that sort of type of situation.
Alright. I just want to make sure we're connecting the dots. So pretty much it's the same thing that applies. We still have the same resources. Promise Place is a resource for teens and adults. There's also resources for different counties as well. Like I said, when we had the things to say, that's important. Also along with how you approach them. Because at times, you may experience abuse as an adult and not know it's abuse. Just because we're older doesn't mean we're wiser. So still making sure that you're there for them and giving them those tips and tools and what to look for.
My name is Pete Snider. I own a gym called PTC Combat Fitness. We teach people how to actually fight. We have jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and boxing. We have people that compete all over the U.S., whether it's in just jiu-jitsu tournaments or whether it's in MMA tournaments. If you don't know what jiu-jitsu is, if you've ever seen people that fight in the cage on TV, whenever they're on the ground, they're doing jiu-jitsu. And it's known as the best self-defense art. A lot of people will tell you that, I can teach a girl to beat up a 6'5" guy. If they tell you that, they're feeding you a line. They're not being honest with you, right? So I have one of the top girls in the U.S. that trains with me. She's 5'2", 110 pounds, but I don't tell her, oh, I can teach you to beat up this 6'5" guy. What I do tell her is, I can make it to where you're so much trouble that the guy's going to leave you alone and go to an easier target. So when we talk about self-defense, one of the best things that we go over is how to prevent all of that, right? So in Peachtree City, one of the things I see with girls and guys that are young, when we're on these bike paths or these golf cart paths, we have 2 earpieces in, right? So if I have 2 earpieces in and someone is walking up behind me, I can't hear them. I have no clue. So they could be right behind me and grab me before I ever know of anything that's going on. So when we're walking on these paths, we want to take 1 earpiece out, right? And just some quick other things right quick. When we go shopping, I never want to park on the right side of a van, right? If I pull up and park on the right side of a van, no one from inside can see. So if I get out and someone opens the passenger door of the van and pulls me inside, no one inside could see what happens, and I've already been taken by the time anybody notices, right? So we want to avoid things like that of putting ourselves in a situation to where we could end up in trouble. We're going to go over a few things here and there that may help you. They're just little techniques. If you want to get more advanced or whatever, of course you can come to my gym. My best competitors right now are actually girls. I just had a girl win in the Pan Am Championship. She beat a girl from Brazil in the finals. Her name is Samantha Harris. So if you look her up on YouTube, you see a lot of her stuff. But she trains with me every day. So you guys are always welcome to come in there and try stuff out. So we'll go over a few things. So the one thing is, I'm going to teach you, if somebody grabs your hand like this, so grab Kylie's hand, right? So when we're in this position, right, I always want to rotate toward the thumb. So all I'm going to do is make a giant circle with my right hand. So make a giant circle. Look, he can't hold you no matter what. The weak point of his hand is the thumb. So if he grabs you, boom. All you're going to do is make a giant circle. Giant circle. Not wrong way. You're not going toward his thumb. Yep. So all I want to do is make a giant circle. So they say, well, what if they grabbed you with 2 hands? So if he grabs her with 2 hands right here, all she's going to do is make a fist. She's going to make a fist, and she's going to reach and grab her fist, and all she's going to do is step back and pull it straight up. Look. Right? So grab her as hard as you can. Don't let her. Make a fist. I want you to pull it this way, right? Go. Go. Look. So little techniques like that, right, will allow you to get out of a situation, because here's what we want to do. We want to create distance. Someone is not going to chase you, right, because that's bringing too much awareness to the scene. So once you break the grip from someone that's trying to harm you, most of the time they're going to leave you alone because they don't want to create a scene so that more people start paying attention. Now we'll go over a little bit more stuff, right? So, does anybody in here know what a mataleon is called, a choke? Does anybody know what that is? All right, it's called a rear naked choke in jiu-jitsu and MMA. So anytime we get behind someone, when we choke someone, we're not doing an air choke, right? Because people can hold their breath. We're doing a blood choke. So I'm going to show her how to do it to her dad, and then when he gets tight, he's going to tap her arm, and that lets her know, I've had enough, I don't feel like taking a nap, let go. So she's going to get behind, and she's going to put one arm all the way around his neck, right? So here, I'll demonstrate for you, right? I'm not going to choke you. So one arm comes all the way. Do we see this? And now I grab my bicep, and my other hand is going right here. So when I squeeze, he knows, all right, that's tight. If I hold that, he's going to go to sleep. So we teach that to these ladies, because if something were to happen, especially moms, right? If someone is doing something to your child, if you get behind them, you can rear naked choke, mataleon. You can put them to sleep. They leave your kid alone, right? So in a fight, a self-defense situation, the safest place to be is on their back. If I'm on someone's back, they can't do anything to hurt me, right? So we do a rear naked choke. So come on, I want you to see you do it today. Yep. Grab your bicep. Yep. Now put this hand behind his head. I want you to stay tight. Now squeeze. Squeeze. Squeeze! All right? Now this doesn't mean go home tonight, and as he's watching the Braves game, you make him take a nap, right? So, but that is what we're trying to do, and what you're doing is, you're cutting the carotid arteries off so that they're not getting any blood to the brain, okay? These are things we teach, like different chokes from different positions. different arm bars, different things like that to subdue an opponent. So in jiu-jitsu, we teach to get takedowns, to stay on top, because if we're on top, the person on bottom really can't hurt us, right? So these are the things we go over. Another thing we teach are leg kicks, right? So I was a professional fighter. So when I throw leg kicks, I'm trying to hit him right above his knee, because you have a nerve that is running right above your knee, right? And when you see guys fight, they're trying to hit that same spot over and over. And eventually, that leg just stops working, right? So if she is facing her dad, and her dad won't let her go out on a Friday night, she is just going to take her shin and turn her hips. Her hips want to be facing this wall. So turn, 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 turn. Stop. Stay there. When I throw a kick, I want my shin to hit his leg, right? I don't want my foot. If I hit him with my foot, it hurts me. I want to hit him with my shin. Okay? So that's another thing we teach women, because they have powerful legs, right? Yep. And all I do is I step and open my hips. It allows my leg to come through. Okay? Another kick we work on is called a teep kick. This is to create distance, right? So all Kaylee's going to do is bring her knee up, knee up, touch my knee, right? And she's going to push him right in the stomach, right? No, I don't really do it. I mean, look, touch him, look, here, right? Knee up, yes, right? And all you're doing, remember, we want to create space between our attacker, right? We don't want them to grab us. There's a lot of stuff we can go over. Things that if you come to my gym, we get a lot more in depth about when they grab you from behind, right? One thing we can say is, whenever someone grabs us from behind, grab her from behind, she never wants him to pick her up. So she's going to try to just grab her. Just sit down. Look, hold her. Don't let her sit down. But watch, go, sit down. Look. So now if you wanted to take her somewhere to do something to her, you're literally going to have to pick up dead weight and carry them, right? So anytime somebody grabs you, just go limp. No matter how strong you are, her dad's way stronger than she is. But dead weight, him having to hold dead weight while she's trying to sit down, he's not going to be able to carry her to a car, a van, a house, or whatever he wanted to do, right? So that's just a few of the techniques that we go over that will help you stay out of a situation. Does anyone have any questions on anything? I will go over whatever, self-defense, fighting, anything you want to know. Ask it.
What if someone gets behind you
With a rear naked choke? Well, here's where we have a problem. Number one, they have probably been training a long time. But number two, anytime someone is behind me, number one, I want to tuck my chin. So let's say we're in a quote-unquote fight. He wants to tuck his chin, right? He doesn't want me to get underneath. And he's going to start working to control my wrist. If he controls my wrist, look, I can't get behind him to finish. So that's the battle when it comes to fighting, okay? Is if it's two people that know what they're doing, he knows I've got to control the guy's arm. If I don't control his arm and it gets under my neck, once I grab my bicep, it's basically too late, right? Anything else? Ask him, come on.
Isn't it really best to not yell help? Yell fire, yell something.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing in today's environment. A lot of people never want to get involved, right? You see videos all the time of, say, a group of 3 or 4 people beating up someone and no one else gets involved. But here's the thing. I want to prevent getting in those situations. And I had a guy come in probably an hour and a half ago, and he talked about self-defense, and he was 50. And I said, let me ask you a question. Where are you going that you need self-defense for a 50-year-old man? I go to Publix, I go to work, and I go home. Right? It's called being smart, being aware of where you're going to put yourself in those situations. For young ladies, it's different than men, of course, right? But not many people are going out to attack a 50-year-old man. Young ladies, you have to be aware of putting yourself in a situation to where all of a sudden you're not in control, right? So you get mad at your parents and you go walk on the golf cart path late at night. Well, now all of a sudden if something happened, you're not in control. And I tell people all the time, and this isn't really a self-defense thing, but I had it happen at my gym, so I'll mention it. I have a father that trains with his 3 daughters. Well, they came in the other night and he was upset. I said, why are you upset? He said, she went somewhere after school with someone and didn't tell me and didn't answer the phone. And the daughter was like, well, you knew I was okay. But you got to think, he doesn't know she's okay. And if something were to happen, he has no clue where she is. So he has no clue where to start to say, my daughter is missing, she's here, right? So remember that. When you go out somewhere, let your parents know, because one day you're going to want your parent to be there to know that they care about you, right? Now, that's not really a self-defense thing, but it's like, if you let someone know, then if something were to happen, they at least know where to start, right? Any other questions? Ask it.
So you were talking about like staying in control of the situation.
Mhm.
How do you make sure you stay in control of the situation, even when you're in an environment that's maybe not like favorable but unavoidable?
Yeah, no. So number one, we never go anywhere with anyone. Never. If someone says, if you go with me, I won't hurt you. No, never. Because if they get you to another position, another house, another car, whatever, they're in control. So if you stay in that one position, you're in control of where it's going to happen, right? If they're going to do something to you, you're going to have to do it to me right here. You're not going to take me to a secondary location. That's number one. Number two, always think about where I am, okay? I'm not going to go to a convenience store in a bad part of town if I'm by myself. I'm not going to go to this area if I don't feel comfortable there, okay? Go places you feel comfortable and you know are safe. And everybody in here is smart enough to know what positions to not put themselves in. Look, we're kids. I did the same thing. You put yourself in a situation, then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I shouldn't be here. Then we got to get ourselves out of that situation so that we're in control, right? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What if it's weapon-based, like someone has a knife on you?
That's a great question, and I'll tell you why. People come to me all the time, they're like, can you teach me how to take a knife away? And I said, I will tell you something. I was an undefeated professional fighter. I was one of the top-ranked fighters in the Southeast. And if someone pulls a knife on me, do you know what I'm going to do? Run. And if someone tells you, I can teach you how to take a knife away, this is what I want you to do. You say, give me a red marker, and I want you to take this red marker away, and I'm going to touch you until you take this marker away. And then when they finally get the marker away and they got 7 marks on them, that's 7 times they would have been stabbed. So when people say, oh, I want you to teach me to take a knife away, teach me to take a gun away, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say I can teach you that, because you know what? I can't. I wouldn't do it myself. I would run to get out of the situation. All these people, when someone has a knife and they want to hurt you or a gun, you never know how they're going to use it. Are they going to stab you this way, that way, that way? You don't have a clue, right? So by the time you got it away and you'd been stabbed 3 times, there's a chance you're going to be seriously injured. I would rather run than to risk getting it away. Yes, ma'am.
Is there like a significant difference in how you should act with someone who has a knife and someone who has a gun?
In both situations, all I do is run. And you got to think, I've been doing this since I was 18. I would not take a chance doing it. I tell people this all the time, and this comes with the situation with a knife or gun, or just in general, right? People say, how many times have you been in a fight outside of the cage? I'm like, 0. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, number one, if you want to see me fight, you're going to have to pay me. But number 2, I got 2 daughters. And I want to go home to those 2 girls more than anything in this world. You can disrespect me, don't care. I can be out in public and you can disrespect me in front of anybody you want. And you know what? I'm not going to fight, because I've got 2 daughters that I want to see more than anything in this world that means more to me than your opinion of me. So anyone that is getting in fights out, you've got to say, man, is it worth it to me to punch a guy and then he fall and hit his head and die? And now I got to go to prison because I reacted because he disrespected me? That's not worth it to me, you know? I enjoy spending time with my daughters. Yes?
If someone does like pull an arm on you, is it right that you should run away in like a zigzag?
You know, that's funny. That's what people say. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know the answer to that. I'll tell you a funny story right quick. I have 2 uncles when I grew up. One of them was like a hunter all the time. The other one wasn't. He said, hey, Larry, I'm going to give you the gun and I'm going to run zigzag and you see if you can shoot me with this pellet gun. And every time he zagged, my uncle shot him in the back. So it depends, I guess, how good the guy is with a gun, you know? I just try to get away. It's not worth it. And it's another one of those things, right? Like, I assume most men in here, I've never had a gun pulled on me. Have you had a gun pulled on you? Right? It comes down to putting yourself in the right situation. Of course, it could happen, you know, in your house or something to where you couldn't avoid it. But for the most part, it comes to just being smart, of knowing where you are and knowing your surroundings. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
We're talking a lot about like stuff on like foot, and if we're like, but what if we're in a car and we think we're being followed, or if we're in a car and or like that's broken down on the side of the road and we like are waiting for assistance and somebody offers to help.
Yes, so number one, if you were my daughter, for instance, I would say number one, never stop no matter what. If somebody accidentally rear ends you, you drive to the nearest exit. I don't care if they have blue lights on, you call 911 and say, I've been in an accident. I don't feel comfortable stopping. You go to the next exit till you get to a convenience store or a shopping center or somewhere where there's a lot of people around. 2, I would never get out of my car on an interstate. I would always stay in my car. There was a football player about 2 weeks ago that his car ran out of gas in Florida. He got out to walk to get gas and he was hit by 2 cars and killed, right? I'd rather stay in my car than to take a chance of having to cross traffic or somebody stopping to quote unquote help me. I would always just call 911 and wait till an officer got there. And if I didn't feel comfortable with the officer, I would call 911 and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this guy. Could you send another one? You can never be too safe. You know, people might say, well, it makes me look silly or weak or whatever. Well, you know what? I'd rather look silly and weak and be alive to go home to my family than to worry about that and something bad happen. Always call 911. Any other questions? Ask them.
What if you were being carjacked? What would you do then?
You can have my car. You can have every material item that I have. Give them whatever they want. Yes?
If you find yourself in a position where like an attacker is on top of you, how could you get them off?
That's things I show at the gym. I was told I couldn't let y'all partner up and do things right. But y'all are free to come to my gym free of charge. If y'all all wanted to come in there one day, and I will give y'all a free self-defense to where you're actually doing it to each other. So if she wanted to organize something, you guys are more than welcome to come in there. That way you can beat each other up. And we can go over those techniques. Hey, if somebody's on top, this is what I do. I trap the arm right here. I trap the leg and I bump and roll. Now all of a sudden I'm on top, right? Yes, ma'am.
Aren't there other small things like in thumbs and eye sockets?
Um,
How effective are those?
This is my theory on that when it's in terms of eyeballs and kicking someone in the privates, right? I never want to do something that if it doesn't work, I make them even madder. So if you go to stick your thumbs in some guy's eyes and it doesn't work, you're about to have you know what to pay. Same thing with when they say kick somebody in the privates where there's a male or female. This is funny, but it's too small of an area, right? Meaning if you miss, all you did was make somebody that's already mad that much more mad. I want to teach you things that work and get you out of the situation, not something that's going to escalate it into where they want to even do more damage to you, right? Any other questions? You got to think, if a woman is 5'2", 120 pounds, right? Realistically, can you punch a 6'4" guy hard enough to hurt him? No, there's a reason there's weight classes when I fight. There's a reason they don't let me at 210 pounds fight the guy that weighs 145 and we're both men. So size makes a huge difference in a fight, right? So all I try to do is teach people in a self-defense situation, I want you to be so much trouble that they say, you know what, let me move on to someone else. Questions?
If you are a bystander, do you just want to step back and call 911?
In a lot of situations, yes, I would. And that goes back to having kids, right? So as much as I would want to help someone, I've got to think about my situation. A lot of times you see people that get involved and they end up getting shot or stabbed because they were trying to help someone. I would just step back, call 911, and then let the cops handle it. Because, and it sounds selfish to say, but you have to worry about yourself and your family more than you worry about someone else. Yes, ma'am.
I know you're talking about like letting the police handle it, but could you draw even more attention to it and be like, hey, like what are you doing? Or would that be unsafe?
No, I really think you could do that to get more people, because as the saying goes, mob rules, right? So if 2 people were attacking someone and all of a sudden a group of 20 came up and they started paying attention, in all likelihood the 2 people are going to stop because, quote unquote, mob rules. But that's also why you see 5 people kicking somebody and the 2 people standing beside not doing anything, because those 2 are outnumbered by the 5 and they don't want to get involved. The safest thing to do is just call 911, tell them what's going on. After the fact, if you want to try to get attention so that they kind of stop, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's the getting involved, and then all of a sudden you're the one that ends up injured or even worse. Questions? Remember, just be smart about your surroundings. Don't do things that you know are not safe. I tell people this. What is the best thing for protection in a home? Anybody know? No, a dog. A dog. No matter how big, no matter how small. If you go up to a house and a dog is going nuts, do you want to go inside? No, you don't. And that's the same with someone that wants to harm you or rob your house, right? They don't want to go inside even if it's a chihuahua. They don't want to deal with it. That is the best thing, right? Another thing I tell this to people when I give these talks to Chick-fil-A corporate, Kroger corporate, bushes need to be cut, all right? You don't want high bushes in front of your house so someone can walk behind the bushes and no one from the road can see them. So it's little things like that that you may not think about that you need to do. Trim bushes so people can see your house, right? You don't want them to be able to get behind bushes and open windows and things like that. But the number one thing for home security is a dog. Anything else? If not, you guys are more than welcome to come to my gym for free. If she wants to set something up with her dad, and all the parents can come as well, and we can go over some more in-depth things, especially for you girls that in a year or 2 are going to get ready to go to college. College campus, I do that usually during the summer for girls that are getting ready to go in the fall, just a free self-defense seminar. But remember, self-defense is not something I can show you one time and then all of a sudden you're going to be able to do it right. I got to keep practicing. So if you ladies come to the gym and I show you something, go home, practice with your sister, your mom, your dad, or something like that, so that something happens, you react to it and don't have to think. All right? Yes, ma'am. It's on Dividend Drive, right down the road across from the airport. We've been there 13 years, so we have a lot of stuff in there that people try. For y'all in there, I have a lot of celebrities that come in and train with me when they're in town. So celebrities always in and out when they're filming movies, so you never know who you're going to see there. Any other questions? We good?
Yeah, that was
Nice.
great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you guys.